Hi, welcome back to the channel. Stop what you're doing. That tiny 20-cent coin in your hand? It could be worth 6 figures. One small mistake at the mint, one rare year, one flawless coin, and suddenly, pocket change becomes a treasure. That makes millionaires salivate. This is the untold story of Australia's top 10 most valuable 20-cent coins. Let's moving on. First up, the 1966 Australian 20-cent piece that stunned the market by achieving a sale price of $120,000 United States dollars is regarded today as one of the crown jewels of decimal coinage collecting. At its heart lies not only the story of a nation in transition, but also the story of minting artistry, error, and extraordinary scarcity. The year 1966 marked the watershed moment when Australia moved from its long-established pounds, shillings, and pence system into the modern decimal structure, a transition that demanded the production of vast new quantities of coins across multiple denominations. Among them, the 20-cent piece bore the now iconic platypus design by Stuart Devlin, struck in copper-nickel alloy to withstand decades of circulation. But not every coin that left the presses that year was identical. Some were born from irregular conditions, struck at overseas facilities such as the Royal Mint in London, where slight but measurable differences emerged in die alignment, relief depth, and overall finish. One tiny cluster of these London-struck anomalies, especially in top preservation, has since taken on an almost legendary aura. The particular coin that realized $120,000 stood apart for its pristine mint-state brilliance. Collectors marveled at the sharply defined details of the platypus's textured fur, the undisturbed luster that shimmered across its fields, and the virtual absence of contact marks, a near impossibility for a coin of this era and alloy. Beyond its immaculate condition, this piece carried a verifiable provenance that heightened its desirability. It had once resided within an internationally acclaimed private collection, its pedigree well documented, and its authenticity beyond question. As bidding commenced at the auction, connoisseurs and investors alike recognized the unique convergence of factors: scarcity, superb preservation, and historical resonance. The result was a feverish contest, crossing continents through telephone and online bids, until the hammer finally fell at that remarkable figure of $20,000. For the numismatic world, this sale not only underscored the enduring value hidden within modern coinage, but also set a benchmark for the Australian decimal series. More than a coin, it became a cultural artifact, a symbol of a nation's great monetary shift, and a reminder that even the humblest pocket change can ascend into the realm of treasures when rarity and perfection align. Next up, the 1976 Australian 20-cent piece that achieved an extraordinary market value of $31,750 United States dollars has become a defining example of how rarity, striking error, and collector demand can elevate a seemingly ordinary decimal coin into the realm of true numismatic prestige. Unlike the celebrated 1966 issues born during the tumultuous introduction of decimal currency, the 1976 vintage belongs to a period of relative stability in Australia's coinage. Yet it is precisely this context that makes its anomalous rarity so striking. While millions of 20-cent pieces flowed from the presses in 1976, a tiny fraction emerged with highly unusual characteristics: errors in die preparation, mismatched planchets, and off-metal strikes, circumstances that have fascinated and challenged collectors for decades. The particular coin that commanded the impressive 5-figure sum stood at the pinnacle of this category, a minting anomaly preserved in a state of near perfection, combining both technical intrigue and visual allure. What makes the 1976 rarity especially significant is that it is not merely a common coin in excellent condition, but an authentic mint error, the kind that speaks to the unpredictable drama of the minting process itself. Specialists noted that its strike revealed a distinct variation, believed to be an off-metal strike produced when a blank intended for a foreign denomination was mistakenly fed into the press. This resulted in subtle differences in weight, diameter, and coloration compared with standard 20-cent pieces, setting it apart for both scientific study and collector admiration. Layered onto this mechanical intrigue was its superb state of preservation. Graded at the highest levels of mint condition, under magnification, the coin displayed crisp delineation in the platypus motif, pristine fields with an almost reflective sheen, and a remarkable absence of contact abrasions. Such perfection is extraordinarily scarce for any error piece, making it a truly singular survivor. The provenance further enhanced its desirability. Known to have resided in the holdings of a specialist collection, dedicated entirely to decimal rarities, the coin carried a chain of ownership that added gravitas and confidence for bidders. When it finally appeared on the international auction block, the excitement was palpable. Bidding was vigorous, with determined participants from Australia, Asia, and North America, all vying for the chance to own a coin that represented both the precision and imperfection of minting history. The final hammer price of a 31,150 did more than set a record for this denomination. It cemented the 1976 20-cent anomaly as one of the most talked about modern Australian coins. Today it stands as a testament to the idea that numismatic value is not solely the product of age or metal content, but rather of story, rarity, and the intense pursuit of excellence that drives the global collecting community. Next up, the 1968 Australian 20-cent piece that astonished collectors and investors alike by commanding a price of 62,500 United States dollars, exemplifies the intricate interplay of rarity, minting peculiarities, and pristine preservation that transforms an otherwise familiar coin into a world-class numismatic treasure. By 1968, just 2 years after the decimalisation of Australia's currency, the Royal Australian Mint had settled into a more stable rhythm of production, with millions of 20-cent coins struck for daily circulation. Yet amid this mass output, a handful of extraordinary anomalies slipped into existence, destined to one day captivate the eyes and ambitions of discerning collectors. The celebrated rarity in question derived its value from being an error of the highest order, a double-struck issue, or what specialists have often described as a dramatic misalignment, in which the platypus design and surrounding inscriptions were visibly distorted but also magnificently clear. This was not a mere smudge or minor imperfection, but a spectacular glimpse into the mint's inner workings, a tangible accident preserved in metal. The coin that reached the lofty figure of US $62,500 was notable for the way it showcased this era while retaining an exceptional state of preservation. Its surfaces gleamed with near-uncirculated brilliance, the frosted reliefs contrasting beautifully against smooth, glossy fields. The doubling of the design was not only obvious to the naked eye but also aesthetically striking, creating a visual effect that collectors described as almost artistic in its presentation. Unlike most error coins that suffer from circulation wear or damage, this piece survived untouched, perhaps set aside immediately upon discovery, its remarkable anomaly shielded from the attrition of pockets and purses. Furthermore, the provenance added to its prestige. It came from a distinguished numismatic estate, where it had been studied, photographed, and referenced in scholarly discussions of Australian mint errors, thus elevating it beyond the status of a mere collectible to that of an important research specimen. When the coin entered the international auction stage, it ignited fierce competition, with collectors across continents eager to secure what was widely regarded as one of the most visually impressive decimal errors in existence. The bidding escalated rapidly, each increment reflecting not only financial commitment but also the passion and rivalry of those who recognized the rarity's historical and market importance. Ultimately, the hammer fell at $60,500, a figure that reinforced the global appetite for Australian decimal rarities and highlighted the enduring fascination with minting errors of spectacular form. Today, this 1968 20-cent piece is remembered not merely as a coin, but as a story preserved in nickel-copper alloy, a story of mechanical mishap, survival against the odds, and ultimate ascension into the pantheon of high-value numismatic icons. Next up, the 2000 Australia 20 cents. The year 2000 brought with it one of the most celebrated modern rarities of the Australian decimal series, the 20-cent coin that would eventually achieve an extraordinary auction price of $29,900 United States dollars. Unlike earlier rarities born in the chaos of decimal introduction or the technical inconsistencies of the late 1960s, the allure of the 2020 cent piece lies in one of the most famous minting anomalies in Australian numismatics, the mule error. This legendary mistake occurred when the obverse die of a $1 coin, featuring a slightly different portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Ian Rank Broadley, was accidentally paired with the reverse die of the 20-cent piece. The result was a hybrid coin, unmistakable to a trained eye, a 20-cent piece bearing a portrait design never intended for it. The spacing of the lettering and the size of the effigy ever so subtly at odds with standard issues. This was not merely a curiosity, but an outright blunder of extraordinary rarity, with only a small handful surfacing in circulation, before collectors quickly snatched them out of anonymity. The specific example that realized $29,900 was remarkable not only for being a mule, but for its near-flawless condition. While many known examples bear the marks of circulation, this piece was preserved with extraordinary care, its surfaces still glistening with the original mint luster, the raised features sharp and unsoftened by wear. Under magnification, the details of the Queen's portrait were crisply defined, while the platypus design on the reverse stood bold and undisturbed. For collectors, it embodied the perfect intersection of rarity, error, and preservation, a trifecta that invariably commands premium valuations in the marketplace. Its pedigree further elevated its stature, having originated from a private collection of Australian mules and errors, meticulously catalogued and widely respected within numismatic circles. With documentation and provenance securely attached, bidders entered the auction with full confidence in its authenticity. When the coin appeared on the global auction stage, anticipation was immense. Collectors from around the world, already aware of the notoriety of the 2000 mule, competed fiercely, each bid driving the figure higher, reflecting both the coin's scarcity and its cultural significance. The hammer finally closed at a $29,900, a price that underscored the fact that even within the most modern of coinages, extraordinary value can be found when a mistake transforms into a masterpiece. Today, the 2020-cent mule is considered a legend, not just in Australia but globally, a reminder that the fascination with coins often lies not in their intended perfection, but in the rare, accidental quirks that escape the mint and enter the wider world. Next up, the 1967 Australian 20-cent coin that achieved a remarkable $47,200 United States dollars at auction, represents one of the most fascinating chapters in the story of decimal coinage. By this year, Australia's transition to decimal currency was just a year old, and the Royal Australian Mint was still navigating the logistical challenges of supplying a nation with its newly designed coinage. Among the millions of 20-cent pieces struck, the overwhelming majority were ordinary, produced with routine precision and destined for circulation in pockets and tills. Yet from this sea of uniformity, a select few emerged as extraordinary. Coins marked by misstrikes, composition quirks, or subtle minting anomalies that would, decades later, elevate them into the realm of coveted rarities. The 1967 specimen that commanded nearly $50,000 is the quintessential example, a piece that captured the attention of seasoned collectors, not only for its scarcity but also for its remarkable state of preservation and the technical intrigue it embodies. Specialists point to the fact that this particular coin was struck on a planchet, intended for another denomination or perhaps even a foreign issue, an error that results in weight, diameter, and color variations compared with standard 20-cent pieces. Under magnification, its details revealed a nuanced strike that bore both the hallmarks of the platypus design and telltale evidence of an off-metal composition, making it a coin of dual interest, a practical curiosity of minting error, and an object of sheer aesthetic allure. Its preservation was nothing short of remarkable. Graded among the highest tiers of mint state, its surfaces glistened with undisturbed luster, the relief sharply defined, and the fields remarkably free of blemish. Few error coins survive in such pristine condition, since most are discovered in circulation, already worn by the rigors of daily use. The survival of this coin in near-perfect form speaks to the possibility that it was identified early, perhaps even directly from a bag of freshly struck coinage, and carefully safeguarded across decades. Provenance too played a key role in its prestige. This coin had been part of a respected numismatic collection that specialized in Australian decimal rarities, and it had been catalogued, photographed, and studied in numismatic publications, adding to its scholarly and historical significance. When it crossed the auction block, collectors knew they were bidding not simply for a coin, but for a documented piece of minting history. Bidding was fierce, stretching across continents, with determined participants, eager to secure what many regarded as one of the finest surviving decimal errors of the late 1960s. The final hammer price of $200 underscored the extraordinary appetite for coins that embody rarity, error, and condition in equal measure. Today, the 1967 Australian 20-cent rarity stands as a touchstone for the series, proof that even a young decimal coinage can yield treasures of immense value when chance, error, and preservation converge. Next up, the 1996 Australian 20-cent coin that astonished the numismatic world with its sale at $74,700 United States dollars is a modern marvel of rarity, minting error, and collector passion. By the mid-1990s, Australia's decimal coinage system had been long established, and the Royal Australian Mint was producing coins with high levels of precision and quality control. Errors of notable significance were, by this time, exceedingly rare. Yet it is precisely this rarity that makes the 1996 anomaly so captivating, for it is among the most celebrated and valuable decimal errors ever recorded. The coin in question was struck on the wrong plancher, believed to have been a foreign blank, inadvertently introduced into the production line, resulting in a 20-cent piece that differed in both composition and appearance from the standard issue. To the untrained eye, it might have seemed subtly unusual. To the seasoned numismatist, it was an unmistakable treasure. What elevated this particular coin beyond curiosity and into the realm of a five-figure icon was its impeccable preservation. In an era when most error coins would pass unnoticed into circulation and quickly accumulate wear, this specimen survived in near-perfect mint state. Its surfaces gleamed with original luster, unbroken by scratches or blemishes, while its strike was crisp and full, the platypus design rendered in extraordinary detail. The obverse bore Queen Elizabeth II's portrait with equally sharp clarity, its fine lines untouched by wear. Under magnification, specialists confirmed the physical characteristics, consistent with an off-metal strike, cementing its identity as one of the great modern errors. In numismatics, condition often amplifies rarity, and in this case, the synergy between anomaly and preservation created a coin of unparalleled desirability. Provenance added an additional layer of distinction. The coin came from a private collection that had long focused on rare decimal errors, and its authenticity was beyond dispute, having been verified by top grading authorities and referenced in discussions among scholars of minting errors. When the coin appeared on the international auction stage, excitement was immediate and intense. Collectors and investors recognized that such a specimen, unique in its anomaly, flawless in its condition, and documented in its pedigree, was unlikely to appear again for many years. The bidding was fierce, a dramatic contest that pushed the final price to an astonishing $74,700, a record that highlighted both the global demand for rare Australian errors, and the willingness of investors to treat such pieces as serious assets. Today, the 1996 20-cent rarity is viewed as one of the defining icons of modern numismatics, a coin whose value transcends its humble face value to symbolize the enduring fascination with the beautiful accidents of the minting process. Next up, the 1980 Australian 20-cent piece that soared to a staggering 28,500 United States dollars at auction illustrates the enduring power of scarcity and anomaly within modern decimal coinage. At the time of its release, the 20-cent coin was already a familiar fixture in the Australian monetary landscape, its platypus design firmly embedded in the nation's identity. Millions upon millions were struck in 1980 to meet the demands of circulation, and under ordinary circumstances, no individual coin from that year would stand apart. Yet among those millions, an exceedingly rare anomaly was created, an error coin of such unusual character and remarkable preservation that it transformed from circulating change into a numismatic treasure of global renown. This specimen, which achieved nearly $30,000, was struck on an off-metal plancher, believed to have been a blank reserved for a foreign coinage contract, a not uncommon occurrence during periods when the Royal Australian Mint undertook overseas minting duties. What makes the 1980 rarity exceptional is the clarity and completeness of the strike. Despite the mismatch in plancher, the platypus, rendered against a backdrop of copper-nickel, alloy foreign to its intended composition, displayed extraordinary contrast and luster. Collectors marveled at the coin's unexpected coloration and weight, characteristics that immediately set it apart from standard issues. Its preservation was of the highest grade, virtually untouched by circulation. Under magnification, every line of the platypus's fur, every ripple of the water, and every curve of Queen Elizabeth II's portrait was visible in immaculate detail. Such precision in an error piece is breathtakingly rare, as most anomalies are, discovered only after they have already endured the rigors of circulation. That this coin survived in near-mint perfection elevated it from curiosity to icon. Its provenance, too, was impeccable. Originating from a collection devoted exclusively to Australian decimal rarities, it had been carefully catalogued and verified by grading authorities, ensuring both its authenticity and its pedigree. By the time it appeared on the auction block, anticipation had already reached fever pitch. Collectors understood that opportunities to acquire such an error, off metal, perfectly preserved and so well documented, were vanishingly rare. Bidding erupted across continents, driven by both institutional investors and private enthusiasts who saw in this coin not only an object of beauty but also a secure store of numismatic value. The hammer fell at $28,500, cementing the 1980 20-cent rarity's reputation as one of the most important anomalies in modern Australian numismatics. Today, it stands as a symbol of how even in a year of massive mintages, the unpredictable artistry of error can yield treasures of staggering worth. Next up, the 1972 Australian 20-cent coin that reached the impressive figure of $38,600 United States dollars at auction is revered among collectors as one of the great low-mintage rarities of the decimal era. Unlike error-based treasures from other years, the allure of the 1972 20-cent piece rests upon its inherent scarcity. That year, only a fraction of the usual mintage was struck, just over 2 million coins, compared to the tens of millions produced in surrounding years. This drastic reduction in output was tied to economic and logistical factors at the time, and while it passed unnoticed by the general public, it planted the seeds for what would become one of the most coveted circulation issues of the series. For collectors of Australian decimal coinage, the 1972 20-cent is the linchpin, the essential rarity that completes or breaks a set, and in top condition. It commands figures that rival and sometimes exceed rare errors. The specimen that realized $38,600 was not merely rare in mintage but extraordinary in its state of preservation, Graded among the highest mint state categories, it displayed shimmering original luster across both obverse and reverse, with no signs of circulation wear. The platypus design stood crisp and bold, every detail of Stuart Devlin's artistry preserved in sharp relief. On the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II's portrait appeared flawless, with even the finest strands of hair rendered with precision. For a coin intended for everyday commerce, to survive nearly half a century without contact marks, blemishes or signs of wear is extraordinary, and such examples exist in only the smallest numbers. This specimen's brilliance made it not just a rarity in statistics, but a rarity in reality, the kind of piece that serious collectors wait decades to encounter. Provenance again played a critical role. The coin had belonged to a renowned private collection of Australian decimals, its pedigree well established and respected within the community. By the time it reached the auction block, its reputation preceded it. Collectors from across the globe, aware of its condition and rarity, vied intensely for the chance to secure what many regard as the cornerstone of a complete Australian decimal collection. The atmosphere was electric as bids climbed higher, reflecting not only the scarcity of the coin but also the prestige of owning such an immaculate example. When the final hammer fell at a 30/8600, it set a benchmark that underscored the value of condition combined with scarcity. Today, the 1972 20-cent piece is considered a must-have for serious numismatists, a coin that embodies the truth that even among billions of decimals, some years and some coins rise above the ordinary, becoming icons of numismatic history. Next up, the 1988 Australian 20-cent coin that stunned the numismatic world with a sale of 56,800 United States dollars is a remarkable fusion of historical timing, minting anomaly, and sheer collector fascination. The year 1988 was itself monumental in Australia's history. It marked the nation's bicentenary, 200 years since European settlement, a year that carried enormous cultural resonance and saw commemorative coin issues capturing national pride. Against this backdrop, the ordinary 20-cent coin continued to circulate as a familiar workhorse of commerce. Yet amidst the millions of routine strikes, one extraordinary era emerged, a 20-cent coin that would ascend into the realm of international numismatic legend. This particular coin was the product of a plancher error, where the reverse die of the platypus was accidentally paired with a blank never intended for the 20-cent denomination. The result was a piece of startling difference. Its metallic hue, weight and diameter set it apart from ordinary issues, instantly noticeable to the trained eye. Specialists later confirmed the anomaly as an off-metal strike, one of the rarest and most coveted types of minting error. But rarity alone does not explain its breathtaking value. What propelled this coin into the elite tier was its flawless preservation. Unlike most error coins that slip into circulation and are discovered only after suffering scratches, nicks, and general wear, this specimen survived in mint state perfection. Its luster shimmered with brilliance across immaculate fields, and both obverse and reverse details, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II and the iconic platypus, were rendered in precise, sharp relief. Adding to its mystique was its impeccable provenance. It originated from a distinguished private collection devoted to Australian minting anomalies, a pedigree that was publicly documented and verified by leading grading authorities. When the coin was presented on the auction stage, anticipation among collectors was electric. The rarity of a 1988 off-metal error, coupled with the high-grade condition, positioned it as not just a coin, but a national treasure in miniature. Bidders from across continents, Australia, Europe, North America, and Asia drove the price upward in an escalating contest that reflected both passion and strategic investment. The final hammer fell at an extraordinary 56,800, a sum that confirmed this coin's place among the most valuable Australian decimal rarities. Today, it stands as a potent reminder that even in modern times, amid highly regulated minting processes, chance still produces marvels that blur the line between everyday currency and numismatic art. Next up, the 1975 Australian 20-cent coin that achieved a remarkable 23,000 United States dollars is one of those numismatic enigmas that proves rarity can emerge in unexpected forms, even in the middle years of Australia's decimal era. By 1975, the 20-cent coin had already become one of the most used denominations in the nation's monetary system, struck in the tens of millions for routine commerce. Yet for reasons still debated among numismatists, the 1975 issue has become synonymous with scarcity in premium condition, and in certain rare anomalies with outright prestige. The coin that realized $23,000 was not just another 20-cent piece. It was a specimen whose rarity combined both a low survival rate in mint state grades and the possibility of a minor minting irregularity that set it apart from its peers. While millions were struck, few were set aside in 1975 by the collecting public. Unlike commemorative years that generated attention, 1975 coins were largely spent and circulated heavily, leaving high-grade survivors in vanishingly small numbers. The auctioned specimen, by contrast, was a spectacular mint-state example, boasting radiant luster, pristine fields, and fully struck devices. Every detail of the platypus design, from the sleek lines of its body to the movement of the surrounding water, was preserved with exquisite clarity. On the obverse, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II gleamed with sharp definition, unmarred by the contact marks that typically plague coins of this era. For collectors, the rarity of encountering a 1975 20-cent in such untouched condition cannot be overstated. It is a year that has become notoriously difficult to secure in high grades. The provenance of this coin added to its allure. It came from a carefully curated collection of Australian decimals, where it had been preserved for decades, protected from the elements, and handled only with the utmost care. Its certification by top-tier grading services confirmed its condition, ensuring bidders entered the fray with full confidence in its authenticity. When it appeared on the auction block, interest was immediate. Collectors recognized that this was not merely a coin, but a condition rarity, the kind that completes or elevates a collection from strong to extraordinary. The bidding was intense, reflecting both the scarcity of the coin in top grade and the prestige attached to owning such a piece. The final hammer price of a $23,000 underscored the principle that in numismatics, rarity is multidimensional. Sometimes it arises from errors, sometimes from low mintages, and sometimes, as with the 1975 20-cent, from the brutal attrition of circulation that spares only a handful of immaculate survivors. Today, this coin stands as a benchmark of mid-era decimal collecting, a piece that proves even seemingly ordinary years can yield extraordinary treasures.